Welcome back. We shall proceeding in our lecture on adverb-headed adverbial group, and we will be focusing on the first element in the TAL structure of adverb-headed adverbial groups, the temporer. This discussion will help us understand how the temporer functions within the syntactic and semantic structure of these groups. If you missed any of our previous discussions on this topic, I encourage you to visit our earlier lectures on the introduction to adverbial groups and the fundamentals of adverb-headed adverbial groups. Doing so will provide you with the necessary foundation and context, ensuring a comprehensive understanding of what we are covering now. Now, let's get started. The temporer. In an adverb-headed adverbial group, the temporer is the element that precedes the main adverb within the TAL structure, where T represents the temporer, A is the apex or main adverb, and L stands for the limiter. The temporer functions to modify or intensify the meaning of the apex, adding nuance and depth to the adverbial expression. The word temporer refers to a thing that moderates, adjusts, or softens something. It is derived from the verb temper, which means to change or balance the strength, intensity, or quality of something to make it more suitable or less extreme. In a broader sense, a temporer acts to bring something into a more desired state or condition. It is a modifier or qualifier that enhances or alters the meaning of another word or phrase, particularly in terms of intensity, degree, or quality. In grammatical terms, it refers specifically to elements that adjust the strength or nuance of a head word or apex within a phrase or group. In essence, a temporer serves to refine or clarify the expression by providing additional context or emphasis. Now, let's examine the types of words and expressions that can function as temporers within adverb-headed adverbial group. These words can be classified into three distinct categories, each contributing differently to the modification of the apex in an adverb-headed adverbial group. These three categories include the following. 1. Intensifiers, the words that amplify the degree of the apex. 2. Nominal groups. These are phrases indicating dimensions of space or time. 3. Comparative markers such as more, most, less, as, etc. Now, let's examine these three categories one after the other. Intensifiers. Common intensifiers that can act as temporers include very, to, quite, so, rather, somewhat, pretty, that, highly, fairly, extremely, relatively, moderately, considerably, notably, etc. Let's examine these intensifiers in sentences. The keynote speaker spoke very intelligently. In this sentence, the expression very intelligently is an adverb-headed adverbial group. In the group, very is functioning a temporer, intensifying the degree of the apex, intelligently. The man walks somewhat faster. The expression somewhat faster in this sentence is an adverbial-headed adverbial group, with somewhat functioning as he temporer, modifying the degree of the apex, faster. She sings relatively well for a beginner. Relatively well, for a beginner, in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. In this group, relatively is functioning as the temporer, modifying the apex, well. The price has risen considerably, sharply. Considerably sharply in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. Considerably is functioning as the temporer, modifying the apex, sharply. It is important to recognize that, in some instances, an intensifier functioning as a temporer may itself be premodified by another intensifier or intensifiers, leading to a more complex adverbial structure. In such cases, both intensifiers act together to temper the apex. Let's examine these examples. The man went rather unbelievably fast. Rather unbelievably fast, in this sentence, is an adverb-headed adverbial group. Rather, in this adverb-headed adverbial group, is an intensifier, premodifying another intensifier. unbelievably, within the group. Both rather and unbelievably now function together as temporars to intensify the adverb fast, which is the apex within the group. He worked, somewhat surprisingly, extremely well. Somewhat surprisingly extremely well in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. Somewhat and surprisingly in this group are intensifiers, premodifying another intensifier extremely within the group. All these intensifiers, which are somewhat, surprisingly, extremely, now join forces to function as temporars to the apex, which is well. She danced so very gracefully. So very gracefully in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. So, in the group is an intensifier, intensifying another intensifier, very. Both so and very are now coacting as temporars to intensify the adverb gracefully. Let's examine nominal groups as temporars in adverb-headed adverbial group. Let's examine these examples. Alex climbed 6 feet up. 6 feet up in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. 6 feet in this adverb-headed adverbial group is a nominal group functioning as a temporar. 6 is a premodifier to feet, while both 6 and feet function together as temporars to modify the apex, up. She completed the task 2 hours earlier. 2 hours earlier, in this sentence, is an adverb-headed adverbial group. 2 hours is a nominal group functioning as a temporar in this adverb-headed adverbial group. 2 is a premodifier 2 hours, while both 2 and hours work together to temper the apex, earlier. Please note, in the analysis of adverbial groups, the nominal groups 6 feet and 2 hours, functioning as temporars within their respective structures. In this context, these nominal groups no longer operate as standard nominal items. Rather, they serve a specific role in modifying the adverbs they precede. Consequently, we will categorize them as temporars, denoting them as TT in our structural framework. This designation emphasizes their function within the adverbial group, distinguishing them from their typical labeling as nominal groups, which would be classified as MHQ, that is, modifier, head word, qualifier. For a deeper understanding of nominal groups and the MHQ structure, we encourage you to review our previous lectures dedicated to nominal groups. These sessions will provide valuable insights and clarity on the various functions and MHQ structure of nominal groups within our discussions. Comparative markers as temporars. The comparative markers that can function as temporars include more, most, much, less, far, as, etc. These pre-comparative markers are usually accompanied with than or as phrases as post-comparative markers. Let's examine these examples. She runs more quickly than her peers. More quickly than her peers in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. More than in this adverb-headed adverbial group is a comparative element functioning as a modify to the apex, quickly, in which more is functioning as the temporar to the apex, quickly, and than his peers is functioning as limiter. He speaks English far better than Smith. Far better than Smith in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. Far than in this adverb-headed adverbial group is a comparative element. Far is functioning as a temporar to the apex, better, while than Smith is functioning as the limiter. He answered less confidently than before. Less confidently than before in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. Less than in this adverb-headed adverbial group is a comparative element, with less functioning as the temporar and than before functioning as the limiter to the apex, confidently. She didn't sing as loudly as usual. As loudly as usual in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. As in this adverb-headed adverbial group is a comparative element, with the initial as functioning as the temporar and as usual functioning as limiter to the apex, loudly. She arrived much earlier than expected. Much earlier than expected in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. Much is a pre-comparative element functioning as the temporer to the apex earlier, while than is a post-comparative element heading the limiter to the apex. Let's now take a moment to explore examples of comparative elements in adverb-headed adverbial groups without limiters. This will allow us to focus solely on the comparative elements as temporers in these groups, enhancing our understanding of how they function independently of additional modifying elements. Let's examine these examples. She finished the task much faster. Much faster in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. Much is an comparative marker, functioning as a temporer to a comparative adverb faster. She spoke less confidently. Less confidently in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. In this group, less is a comparative marker functioning as a temporer to the apex confidently. He visits more frequently. More frequently in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. In this group, more is a comparative marker, functioning as a temporer to the apex, frequently. It is essential to note that the initial modifiers of comparative elements functioning as temporers can indeed be further intensified by other modifiers. This layering adds emphasis and specificity to the comparison. Let's examine these examples. She visits much less frequently than before. Much less frequently than before in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. In this adverb-headed adverbial group, much is an intensifier, intensifying the pre-comparative element, less. Both much and less now join forces to temper the head word frequently. She responded considerably more effectively to the challenge. Considerably more effectively in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. In this group, considerably is an intensifier, intensifying the comparative element more. Both considerably and more may work together to function as a temporer to the apex effectively. He works twice as hard as his colleague. Twice as hard as his colleague in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. In this group, twice is an intensifier, intensifier the comparative element as. Both twice and as now join efforts to temper the apex hard. As we round off our lecture on adverb-headed adverbial group, it is pertinent to highlight the significance of temporal intensifiers that can also function as temporers within an adverb-headed adverbial group. The following is the list of temporal intensifiers: all, this, these, that, those, next, last, some, every, once, twice, long, few, one, two, tomorrow, a week, yesterday, etc. Let's examine some examples. She read all night for the exam. All night in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. In this group, all is a temporal intensifier functioning as a temporer to the apex, night. I will meet him tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. In this group, tomorrow is a temporal intensifier functioning as a temporer to the time adverb morning, which is the apex in the group. Visit him this afternoon. This afternoon in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. This in this group is functioning as the temporer to the apex afternoon. Did you call last night? Last night in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. Last in this group is functioning as the temporer to the apex, night. She called him once again. Once again in this sentence is an adverb-headed adverbial group. Once in this group is functioning as temporer to the apex, again. As we conclude our exploration of temporers in adverb-headed adverbial groups, it is essential to recap the key concepts and insights we have discussed throughout the lecture. We submitted that the temporer is that part of adverb-headed adverbial group that premodify the main adverb. And we have been able to explore different categories of elements that can function as temporars in adverb-headed adverbial group, which include intensifiers, nominal groups, comparative elements, and temporal items. We should submit here that understanding adverb-headed adverbial groups enhances our grasp of sentence structure and meaning in the English language. This knowledge is crucial for effective communication and nuanced expression. We therefore encourage you to reflect on these concepts as you continue to develop your understanding of adverbial structures in your writing and analysis. Our next lecture will focus on the apex in adverb-headed adverbial groups. We encourage you to subscribe to all our social media platforms to stay updated. Please share this lecture with others and click the notifications button so you don't miss any future discussions. Should you have any further questions that require clarification on any of the topics we've covered, please do not hesitate to reach out by dropping your questions in the comment section. You are also encouraged to share your thoughts and opinions regarding the lecture on adverb-headed adverbial groups or adverbial groups in general. Your insights are valuable and contribute to our collective learning experience. Please feel free to leave your comments in the designated section on our social media platforms. We look forward to hearing your perspectives. Now, let's try these questions. Identify the adverbial groups in these sentences and analyze them using TIA-L framework. 1. They arrived almost 2 hours early. 2. Very shortly, they shall be leaving. 3. He finished the race twice as quickly as his friend. 4. She completed the task very early enough that very day. 5. She worked very remarkably hard right here that very first year we started this company. Please drop your answers in the comment section. Thanks for your attention and participation throughout this lecture. We look forward to seeing you in our next session. Bye.